Hi everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm doing a tutorial on this pendant here. This is the Heady style, is what I've seen it called the most. And it's usually a pendant that involves a lot of wire, and it involves some kind of rough stones or crystals. I'm just doing 2 in this one, trying to keep it simple, so this is not a super long tutorial. But this is one of those things, it's going to come out differently. Every time you do it, yours will probably be different from mine. Because the gist of it is you kind of make almost like a basket to prevent your stones from falling out the back. You can see my thick little frame there. I'm going around. And then you do all kinds of wires through the front to trap the stones from the front. And usually you see these kinds of coiled coils, these kinds of things. So just to kind of add for some mass to the pendant and add decoration. This is the second piece I've ever done like this. This right here is the very first piece I did. And so then after I made this, I decided to make this other one so I can do a tutorial for you guys. But I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty time-consuming kind of thing. So I'm not really gonna do any more with this, any more tutorials, or just really make any more pieces like this, because I prefer the other ones that I do. But I did want to do a tutorial and let you guys know what these are all about, kind of the basics of how they are made, so that'll be helpful hopefully to you. So thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see how I make this pendant, then just stay tuned. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take a piece of 16 gauge wire. Using copper wire, you can use square wire. I don't have all kinds of fancy things, so I'm just going to use what I have and show you guys with that. These are the 2 little stones that I'm going to be using. I also don't have a lot of rough stones either, so I'm just going to work with what I have. It's nice if maybe if you have like a little tiny one for the top 2 or something. I'll see if I can find something, but start with these 2, and this is going to be my frame. You want it to go around your stones. You don't want it to be like super tight because you want to leave room for wires, but you also don't want it to be huge and then, you know, have a lot of gaps to fill in. So I'm just going to close up this little frame by making a little loop. I'm just turning it. And then I'm gonna put the other end through it and turn that the other way. But however you want to do it so that it's closed up, you know. I'm gonna have to use my pliers here. I only have my round nose, but anyways, I'll just do that off camera. Pinch that down a little bit. So basically that creates a frame for the stones. Next, I'm taking 3 pieces of 22 gauge wire. This is about 9 inches, but I just have a tiny little frame here, so you might need more or less. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take 1 piece at a time. I'm going to put it through my frame. I'm going to fold it in half, like this. And you can use your pliers to hold it and twist it so that it stays on. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the other 2 wires. So all 3 of the wires are secured, and basically what we're going to do here is make almost like a little spider web here that will prevent our stones from falling through the back. So these gaps that are going to be created, just keep in mind that you want them to be too small for your stones to fall through. So this is my smallest stone here. If you have something really tiny, then the area that the tiny stone is going to go, you want for these to be, you know, make smaller gaps. And you'll see what I mean by gaps. So let me just flip these over. I want this to be my back. So what we're going to do now is take the 2 adjacent ones, separate out the wires, and twist together these 2 wires here. like that. And then you can bring in this third one, and you're going to take the wire from the third one and then this little edge wire here that we have, and you're going to twist them together. And if you want to form smaller holes, then when you're twisting, you want to hold closer. So if I just held like right here, it would have just formed a tiny little twist, you know, but I held kind of further back and I formed this whole entire big thing here, which actually may be a little bit too big. You can use your pliers to kind of separate this out. So this is what our back is looking like so far. Now I'm going to take these two wires here, and you can kind of improvise a little bit. You don't have to do this exactly in the same way. If you have a really big frame, you might want to use more than 3 wires. Like I'm just using 3, but perhaps more will be better for you. So I'm basically just trying to fill in all the gaps that I have. Now I'm going to take this wire and just wrap it around the base just to secure it to the base, and same with this one, just right through here. So this side is just kind of finished and secured. I pinch that down a little bit because it's sticking up. So wherever you feel like right here, this is kind of a big gap, so I'm going to go ahead and twist these 2 wires together to close that little gap up. And there we go. And then with your little stray wires, you're just securing them to the base by giving them a wrap. If you wanted to, I don't know if you're familiar with that technique where you can make like a dream catcher or a spider web. It only requires 1 wire, and you kind of like weave around. Theoretically, you could do that too. I haven't tried that, but that'll, as long as you use a nice thick wire like this 22 gauge. So here it is. Here's our back. Now you want to take your stones, you want to arrange them however you want them to go. And this part is a little hard because until the stones are really truly secured, it's difficult to hold this up to keep showing it to you, because they're gonna want to keep falling out. So I'm gonna try and hold this up. Normally you'd hold it like this, so it'd be a little less likely to fall. I'm gonna take these wires here, and I'm sorry that I can't show you very well because I really have to, you know, keep my thumb here to hold these, but I'm gonna try and secure my stones by wrapping these wires around portions of the stone. Now I'm going to wrap this wire around the base. I'm going to take this wire, just put it through. And now just wrap it around the base. Okay, so that one's more or less secure. You can kind of adjust the shape of your wires afterwards, and we are going to get the stones more secure later. Now I'm going to work on this piece here. So I actually want to take this wire, kind of bring it down here first. Okay, Okay, now I'm going to put it through here. And maybe just go like this. I'm going to wrap it around the base. So these wires are actually kind of extra now. If you had, more stones, you could put them there. I'm going to bend my wires so they are not covering up a ton of my stone. Oops. Okay, so the stone's not very secure anymore. Maybe I'm going to take this wire, bring it across this way, and then just down through here. We're going to keep adding more wires, so this is definitely going to get more secure with time. So just in these very beginning stages, you want to be careful you don't pop your stones out, because they're going to be likely to pop out. Okay. Here's what we have so far. These excess little wires, I'm just going to cut them and, pinch the end down with my pliers so it's not sticking out. I'm going to leave the longer ones for now in case I find a use for them. This style of pendant is something you kind of improvise as you go, because everyone is going to be a little different. Your stones are going to be different, shapes and sizes. So you just kind of have to work with that. But basically the concept of it is to make a frame, put the stones in there, and then fill in all the gaps with wire of some sort of decorative patterns. Okay, so next I'm going to incorporate something that is called a coiled coil, and I have a tutorial on this, so I'm not going to walk you through all the steps of making this, since I already have a video. I will link that below so you can just watch that, so this way this video can be a little shorter. And basically, I don't know how long this is, maybe like 2 inches. Yeah, this looks about 2 inches. I just made, just kind of eyeballed however long. And now you want to find a way to incorporate that somehow. And you can use more of these, longer pieces of this. This is just basically all up to you how you want this to go. So I think I'm going to put it here on this left side of my pendant. And the little tail end, just using the little tail end of that coil to attach it to that frame. And then I'm going to have that go up here. I guess if I do this, I want it to cover up the frame. So I'm going to attach it up here. There we go. Move these wires out of the way. Okay, and I'll trim that end off later off camera. So this covers up the edge nicely. The thing though is that it is not attached and it moves. So here's what I'm going to do to attach that. I'm taking a piece of 30 gauge wire. This is the same 30 gauge brass wire that I used on this coil. I am going to attach this 30 gauge wire to my base just by wrapping it around just a couple of times. so it's nice and attached and is not going anywhere. Sorry if that's hard to see. It's a super thin little wire. It's too hard for me to like grab it with my fingers, so I'm just using my pliers. These are the Zuron needle nose, I think, tweezer nose. Yeah, tweezer nose pliers. I like them because they're tiny and you can reach in small spaces. Alright, so that's attached. I'll trim the little end of it off in a little bit here off camera. Okay, so here's my little wire attached here to the back. I'm going to take it. I'm going to put it through right in between my coils and get closer. Okay, so it's going to pop right into that little space, and you're not going to be able to see it. It's going like right in between the coils because it's so thin, so it doesn't alter our look. It's like a hidden little wire. Oop, my stone is popping out here. I'm just going to move down a tiny bit and do the same thing again. Just make sure you feel that pop in there so that you can't see it. Alright, so I'm just going to keep going with that until I attach this little coiled coil to my base so that you can no longer see it. And then once I get to the very end, I'm just going to wrap my little thin wire here around this little base and just trim it off. I used more of that 30 gauge brass wire, and you can use a thicker gauge or obviously not brass wire. I'm just doing this in brass and copper. I like when it's several different metals together, and I like when it's different gauges of weaving wire as well. So this coil I did on my coiling gizmo, and then I just slid it onto this wire here. You don't have to have a coiling gizmo, you can just coil by hand. So I am going to use this to further secure my stones. And that's basically what we're going to be doing from now on. I'll show you how I'm securing this pendant, but yours is going to depend on your individual stones, of course. Bringing this up. And now I'm just attaching it to the base. And then I'm just going to trim, actually I don't even need to trim this little end, it's already very short. You can use your fingers to adjust this wire to shape it kind of more around your stone as well. And now I'm making another sort of decoration that I'm going to put on the side. So I have 4 22 gauge wires here. This is a spring clamp that you can get in a hardware store. This is my 30 gauge brass wire. If you have half round wire, this works really well with half round wire, but I just don't have any. So I'm wrapping this around my 4 wires. And the length, by the way, I don't know, I just kind of got a long piece so I can have some extra here. Probably like 5 inches. So I'm going to keep flattening this down with my pliers. But I'm basically just coiling. Let me zoom in a little closer because it's hard to see because of that clamp. Around all 4 wires. Now I'm going to take 2 middle wires, pull them forward, and I'm going to continue wrapping around just the 2 wires in the back here. if you have any tiny little stones, you can use this to attach those stones. I do not want these two wires to move closer together, by the way. You want to be careful of that. So I don't know, what is that, 5 times I think I did that. Now if you had a tiny stone, you could like put it in there. Oops, sorry, if you can't see. You could put the tiny stone in there and then have these two wires kind of hold it on. But I don't have a tiny stone, so I'm just gonna do this purely as decoration. And now I'm gonna go around all 4 wires again. I'm just kind of eyeballing, but I think 5 or 6 times. Let's see. This is 7. So maybe I'll do 7 around all 4 wires and then 5 around, you know, just underneath those 2. So now the same thing again. Grab your 2 middle wires, pull them forward. I'm going to do the 5 loops. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then bring these back. I'm just going to keep going with this for a little bit until I have long enough to go on the edge, on the other edge of my pendant, the one that doesn't have the coiled coil. Alright, so now I have this piece here, kind of the length of this side. So I'm going to go in here, find just a little gap to tuck all these wire ends through. Alright, so I tuck those through. Now I'm going to lay this down along the edge, and I'm going to tuck it in to this little gap. Oops, my stone fell out. Alright, my stone fell out. So now, with all these little ends that we have going on here, if they were a little longer, actually some of them, like this one is a little longer, I could put a coil on and then just kind of like tuck that away, but the rest of them I'm gonna cut and just like pinch them down. Actually, maybe this one too. So kind of the 2 longish ones down here. These are all pretty short, so I'm just gonna cut and just tuck them under or something to get them out of the way. Alright, so I made 2 coils, a 30 gauge brass and a 28 gauge copper on those 2 little stray wires down there. The ones up here, I cut them and just like tucked them all away so they would be out of the way. So I'm gonna grab that and I'm gonna put it through here, just kind of right above these 2 stones. So I'm pulling it through on the side, and now I'm just attaching it to one of these little base wires here. I'm just looping it around. Okay, and now this brass one. Oops, the little coil is sliding off. I guess also through here somewhere. Oops. Stone is still not very secure. Okay. Alright, so I am again just wrapping that around some wires here in the back to secure that. And then what you can do after you kind of have those wires in is you can use your pliers or your fingers to just kind of adjust them, shape them, have them go nicely around your stones however you would like. So here is what I have so far. Now I'm taking 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire, and I have 28 gauge weaving wire. I'm going to weave the following pattern around them. 1 loop around the bottom, 1 loop around the top, and 1 around both. So again, bottom, top, both. And what I'm going to do here is I want this to change shape. So I've started it here with the wires right next to each other, but I'm gonna separate my wires out as I do this, and I'm gonna have them get wider, about this wide, and then come back closer together. And this is going to be our bail as well as just kind of decoration down the front of the stone. So here's what I mean. See, my wires are getting bigger. I'm just continuing with this pattern here. Just kind of gently weaving around, not pulling too hard. I don't want to pull my wires closer together. I want them to go out. Alright, so here's my piece. And I made it because I wanted to go through here, kind of on this side, and then I also want to make a bail with it. So I'm taking these 2 little ends here, and I'm just putting them through this little gap. Actually, I wonder if I can get them through here. There we go. Okay, now I am pushing this down into that little hole. Oops, sorry, can't see. Pushing this down. Okay. And I still have that stray wire there. Now I am shaping my bail. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Now we need to secure this. Oh, that stone. I need to secure that stone better. Alright, so I'm just going to attach the little wires, the little ends of all my wires. So I'm attaching this end to this end, and then these 2, let me think here. These 2, I think I'm going to try, let me put my stone back in. I wonder if I can bring those through here. Alright, and then I'll do some coils around these two, and then just kind of like, or maybe, you know what, I'm going to do the same wrap that I did here around these two, but in brass, and then just kind of bring it like this. Then the stone will definitely be trapped in there. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to finish securing this little wire end here, and then, you know, trim off the excess. Alright, so I did that same little weave there on those two wires. And now I just need to secure this. So I'm going to tuck it, I don't know if you can see, like in there. I'm going to kind of curl these wires under. These are round nose pliers that I'm using. I don't know if I can grab them from the other side. Doesn't look like I really can reach. Oh, maybe I can. I reached one of them. I'm going to push this down. Alright, it's tucked away. There's this little gap here. Probably needs a little coiled wire. I would put a little coiled wire here so you can't see through that little space. And maybe another one here. So that's probably what I'm going to do. This little wire I've had for a while sticking out here. I'm just going to trim it off at this point. I don't think I'm going to use that for anything. So. Alright, so I made two coils here. The inside of both of these coils is some 20 gauge copper wire, and on the outside this is some 24 gauge copper wire, just for a little bit of a different texture, and this is that 28 gauge brass. So what I'm going to do is with the brass, I'm going to tuck it in through here somewhere. There we go. And then I'm going to just lay that across here. This looks like it's not really filling in the gap. I might need to do another coil. So I'm going to bring that through the bail. Maybe that'll be enough. Now I'm going to secure these little ends here. And just by wrapping them around whatever I can wrap them around. And I'll trim that off later. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around my bail here. Alright, then I'll trim that off. And you can use your pliers. Tuck that in. If you think that's too big of a gap there, you can probably try and fill that in some more. I think I'm just going to leave it. That's good enough for me. It's not really that much of a gap. Alright, so now this coil here, I'm going to put it through there, through this little hole. I'm going to go ahead and secure that real quick before I bring that up. So I'm just wrapping it around. Oh, it's stuck. There we go. Alright, so I'll have to trim that off later. Try and keep my coil nice and tight. Don't want it spreading out as I'm doing this. So I want to have it go down, up, kind of up the side here. And then just in there somewhere. Just tuck it through. See where it comes out. There it is. That made it a little too tight. There we go. That seems good enough. And again, I'll just wrap that around something to secure it. My bail got a little bit discombobulated there. Let me fix that. I wonder if I should have brought this down this way. I don't know. Alright, so here is what we're looking like so far. I'm going to cut all these little ends and tuck them away, and I'll be right back. Alright, so here it is. I trimmed all the things in the back. Everything's all tucked away, all the wire ends. So I think I'm done with it now. If you still have gaps to fill in, you can, keep coiling. I think it's nice to add a little texture and do different sizes, different gauges of coils. And of course I like the different colored metals together. I am going to oxidize this, so I'll show you guys what it looks like after being oxidized. But here's what it looks like. So here's what it looks like after being oxidized. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.